See, everyone remembers Star Wars and Star Trek. But see, there's other sci-fi voices of shows and people that we might forget. So if you hadn't thought of Dollhouse, Classic Battlestar, or Babylon 5 in a while, you gotta listen in. It's a sci-fi diner classic, voices from a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. It's a sci-fi diner classic, bringing you voices from the past. No, we ain't here a thing. It's a sci-fi diner classic, don't give me no news, just give me interviews and nothing else. No, nothing else.
Welcome to the Sci-Fi Diner Classic. This is episode 6, which we kind of revisit old interviews we've done many years ago. Mm-hmm. It feels like typically about 2 years ago, I guess, when this interview happened. Maybe a little bit longer than that. Can't believe it's been longer than that. But
it's gone fast.
It has gone fast, but this is a show that we've absolutely been a lover of. We are absolute fans, total diehard fans of Warehouse 13. And we had the honor and the privilege of speaking with
Miss Allison Scagliotti.
Yes, Claudia Donovan from Warehouse 13. Now, this interview we did during season 1, the very first season of Warehouse 13. And we kind of landed this interview by asking her on Twitter. And she said, yeah, I'll do it. And we had a fun time.
We had a great time. She's a lovely young lady, and she was generous with her time. And we got to ask her some good questions, and she gave us some great answers. And and her career's only gotten bigger since then.
Oh, yeah. She's since been in Eureka and
Smallville.
And we knew she was going to be in Smallville, I think, when we interviewed her.
That is true. So,
but she continues to wow us as we watch Warehouse 13, that's for sure.
Right. We've seen some interesting developments with her character this past season.
Yeah, and maybe even with the finale, we saw some interesting developments with her character.
Right. So, but no, this was just a fun interview, and I hope someday maybe our paths will reconnect.
It would be great to kind of touch base. See her at a con sometime.
That would be awesome.
It'd just be fans' dream come true again. Mm-hmm. So, we hope you enjoy our interview with Allison Scagliotti from Warehouse 13.
Got the Feldkirk minerals and you're using an electrical field, but what about the rest? The compass disappeared with Joshua. My question is, what are you using instead of the compass?
Aren't the minerals enough? It's the same as the metal in the compass. It's the same thing.
You can't just replace an artifact with, something else. There's always an X factor.
Okay, which is maybe why I need your help.
Which is why you shouldn't have done this at all. I'm shutting you down.
Oh, hey! You said you were going to help me.
What I said was I would look, which I now have. And believe me, shutting you down, that is helping you.
Okay, fine. You know what? Fine. Just do it. Just shut me down. You abandoned him once. Why shouldn't you do it again?
It isn't like that.
Oh, no, it's exactly like that. Joshua and me on our own again. It's a good thing I'm used to it.
I know that it hasn't been easy.
No, it hasn't been easy. He was all I had after our parents died. And then he was gone too. He spent his fun years sewing Girl Scout patches and teaching me how to fold an omelet. And then reading Maria Looney on the Red Planet to me every night. He was a genius who put his life on hold for me.
None of that's your fault.
I opened a door to wherever he is, and now he's in pain. You saw his face. That is my fault. Me. I'm the epic fail.
Claudia, it is making you sick.
I owe him. And so do you. And we're running out of time. Damn it, Marty! Help me save Joshua.
Welcome to this interview that we have. We have a very special guest on the show today, Allison Scagliotti. Am I pronouncing that right? Okay, great. And whose genre shows include stuff such as the Gemini Division, Smallville, which you'll be appearing on a little bit later on, and Warehouse 13. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here at the Sci-Fi Diner. You sci-fi guys are all I think you're all closet foodies. I just talked to Slice of Sci-Fi yesterday. I'm still kind of confused, what they season this slice of sci-fi with, but that's cool.
Maybe they get the slice of sci-fi at the Sci-Fi Diner. No, I doubt that. They're a great show, by the way. They're some great guys.
Excellent.
So we love them. I wanted to talk first about Twitter.
Yeah.
So we obviously arranged this interview totally through Twitter. How did you get into Twittering?
It's I'm a bit of a low-tech Sally. But I was working on, I'm going to sort of speak this out of the side of my mouth, Merry Christmas, Drake and Josh last summer. And Jerry Trainer, who plays Crazy Steve, was all over Twitter. He was into Twitter before anyone I know was into Twitter. He was like, do you know about this? It's microblogging, da-da-da. And I went, oh my God, what an unnecessary, receptacle for brain garbage. I can't imagine how many people are like, I'm walking my dog. Now I'm going to Starbucks. Now
I'm going to eat a piece of pie.
Exactly, which is, interesting up to a point, and then it's like, all right, let's maintain some of our privacy. But I got into it when I realized the potential it had for grassroots publicity.
Yeah.
And I really didn't break 100 followers until after Warehouse premiered. I mean, I've had it probably since last September, and a couple of my friends followed me, and a couple random Drake and Josh fans, and now I'm approaching 3,000 followers.
I saw it was growing. I think when I started following it was about 1,000 and some, and now you're up to 3,000. It's incredible.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, now, so what role has Twitter played in just connecting you with your fans and maybe even with your fellow actors and writers?
Huge role. I mean, it's given a voice to people who, maybe would prefer not to write out a formal fan letter and parade it down to the post office, because who really does that anymore? I've really felt an opportunity to connect with people and provide some behind-the-scenes sort of, fun facts and perspective that I otherwise wouldn't be able to. I don't run an official site yet. I mean, that's obviously on my agenda. But so far it's just been a great outlet to connect with people. And, obviously it's a voice for the masses. I do, I present the facet of Allison that I want the whole world to see. And, my manager, I remember when he asked me, okay, do you have an official Twitter that Syfy can promote? I was like, yeah, here you go. And he said, okay, just be careful what you tweet. And that verb just bothers me, by the way. It's the most feminine thing. When I hear guys saying they're going to tweet about something, I always kind of want to offer them soap on a rope or some really girly thing.
Oh, man.
Tell us how you got into acting.
Wow. Well, it's a different story depending on who you talk to. My mother will tell you that I came out of the womb performing. But what happened was she caught me doing a Bill Cosby impression for my pool man in Louisiana and realized that we needed an outlet for this tendency to put on a show. So at 5, I joined my school's talented drama department. So if I hadn't moved to LA to be part of film and television, I probably would have gone to a performing arts high school and moved off to New York. So I've kind of been an actor all my life. I can't really imagine being anything else, even though I am in school and I have other interests. It's just who I am. But when I was 11, I met an acting coach who strongly advised me to try pilot season. And I did. I was incredibly lucky to pick up an agent and manager my first season, which I'm told is nearly impossible. And I booked a pilot with Chevy Chase, and that was my first gig, and it was incredible. It was like a huge budget sitcom. They flew us out to New York, and my mom and I used to joke that, if I so much as thought about a chocolate chip cookie, they'd be there with a platter of all different varieties and variations on chocolate chip cookies. So it was an amazing time, and I just never looked back.
Now, one of our listeners, Jeff McLean, asked, were you into sci-fi before you did stuff like the Gemini Division or Warehouse 13? I know you're doing Smallville coming up.
That's a question I've been asked a lot, and the truth is that I was never an avid follower of one particular franchise outside of Star Wars. I mean, I feel like Star Wars is everyone's default. Who isn't into Star Wars? I feel like if you're
take
not,
that, Miles.
You're not a human being. So I'm new to the genre is my answer. But what attracted me to Warehouse 13 was that it wasn't straight sci-fi, that it had elements of comedy and romance and adventure and fantasy all threaded throughout. So, but being part of the show has prompted me to get into like reading graphic novels, and now I'm catching up with the Battlestar Galactica series. I'm 4 years behind everyone else, but I dig it.
In the past 4 years, you've done 3 genre shows: Gemini Division, Smallville, and Warehouse 13. What draws you to these sorts of shows, or any show?
What draws me to these shows? Well, first of all, the common thread between the 3 that I've been able to be a part of is the characters. I've had the good fortune of being able to play smart girls who are an asset to the storyline in some capacity. I know my character on Gemini was similar to Claudia, although perhaps a little more intense and not as well developed as a human being. She was more of your sort of token hacker. But the idea that these girls are real and vulnerable, but at the same time they can kick ass if you need them to. And then with Smallville, who wouldn't want to play a Wonder Twin? I mean, that was just cool. That was just cool. It was like Smallville. I remember watching Smallville when I was 12, being in love with Tom Welling and wanting to be Allison Mack. So, and by the way, they are 2 of the coolest people I've ever met.
Awesome. Well, you have kind of an Allison Mack look a little bit.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I hope that's a compliment. So,
they're all sisters.
Yeah. Hey, how did you land Warehouse 13?
Well, it was a unique sort of series of events. I knew the writers Derek Hughes and Ben Robb from Gemini Division. And earlier this year, Derek sent me an email. He said, I'm working on this great show, and there's a character coming down the pike that would be perfect for you. And by the way, we'll mention you to our showrunner, Jack Kenny. Well, I worked with Jack Kenny on a pilot 5 years ago. So it was a combination of having worked with the right people and being the right age at the right time. So I spoke to Jack, and Jack sent me a copy of the pilot, just to ensure that it would be something that I'd be into, that I'd even want to be part of it. And apparently the character was originally written as an Asian girl, and they'd seen chicks in Toronto, Vancouver, Ottawa, I think even, and then they went to New York. And somehow they couldn't find who fit properly in Claudia's shoes. And so I went on tape with Central Casting at NBC and, waited a few days, and there it was. And I went from, a full load of 16 units at school to 16-hour days in Toronto. It was such a whirlwind. So I've never looked back. It's been Warehouse 13 is like the best thing that's ever happened to me yet.
Wow. Well, let's talk a little bit about the show then. Tell us about, for our listeners who may or may not be familiar with the show, tell us about Claudia Donovan.
Well, Claudia Donovan, here's some adjectives to describe Claudia. She's smart, sassy, efficient. She's like a Rubik's Cube. She's colorful and complicated, but throw her in a room full of geeks and she's more fun than a barrel of monkeys. The skill set she brings to the warehouse is her incredible ability with computers and security hacking, which is how she finds her way into the warehouse initially, as you guys saw.
Right.
And as a civilian, she kind of sees too much to be released back out into the wild. And so it's decided by Artie and Mrs. Frederick that she stays on and helps out around the house, as it were.
Yeah.
But what's great on a technical level about the Claudia and Artie dynamic is that without an additional person in the warehouse, Artie would be stuck with a lot of expository dialogue and just sitting in front of his computer and fact spouting. So and nobody wants to see that, right? People complain about exposition all the time. So with this sort of young contrast to Artie's very specific type. There's tension and humor and love going on in the warehouse. So
yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, we love it. It's one of my. I guess I tweeted this to you, but one of my wife's favorite characters is your character of Claudia. Just how she interacts and how she brings life, a different type of life to the show than it would be without it.
Many thanks, you guys.
No, we totally love your character.
Just Install, one of our listeners asked, the only time we see Claudia outside the warehouse is in the episode titled Claudia, where we see her at Minnesota University and a few times at Lena's bed and breakfast. Is there any chance we'll see her in action outside the warehouse anytime soon?
Yeah, absolutely. The episode coming up this Tuesday, Nevermore, Claudia goes out into the field with Pete to track down an artifact that's halfway across the country. Oh, wow. The cool thing about the episode coming up is that it's an artifact that's connected to another artifact. Edgar Allan Poe's pen and notebook.
Oh, that's right.
It's easily one of my most favorite episodes. It was so much fun to do. And, Eddie, of course, is hysterical. So much fun to work with. And we got to do some pretty exciting action sequences in the process of retrieving this artifact. So that's that. Claudia out in the field.
Yeah. We've seen you, on the pulley. Do you do your own stunts, or do you have a stunt person?
I do as much as they'll let me do. Like, obviously whenever you saw my face on the zip line, clearly that was me. I believe there was one shot when the zip line snaps that's on my back, and that was my double, who's a woman named Dana, who's like in her 40s, but such a perfect physical match. It's awesome.
That's funny.
And everything in Regrets was me. There was really no need to have a double for that. I do whatever they'll let me because it's fun.
Now, what's it like being on set with the other characters like with Eddie, Joanne, Janelle, and Saul?
There's never a dull moment. We've definitely become like a family. If Artie or Saul is our sort of curmudgeonly patriarch, and Lena's our ethereal cousin, then I'd say, Micah is the mature, overachieving sister, and Pete's the goofball jock brother.
Well, the chemistry, it's obvious that you guys get along because it translates totally into the show, and just the banter that goes on between the characters on the show, I can just imagine what it must be like off camera. So
we've got lightning in a bottle for sure.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that the episode coming up, is that your favorite episode, the one that we're going to see this Tuesday?
I feel like I have a different favorite episode every week.
The entire season's your favorite episode.
Yeah, no, Warehouse 13 is just my favorite in the world. Breakdown, I liked Breakdown more than I expected to. That was probably the episode besides Claudia where I had the most to do. It was really physically taxing, really fun, but quite the challenge. And with Nevermore, I got to do something new. I got to be sort of a pseudo Secret Service agent, like a substitute, I guess. Duped was another really fun one. We had a good time during Burnout. I mean, I can't pick a favorite. They're all so great.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you have a favorite artifact?
Easily Edgar Allan Poe's pen.
Okay.
Easily. I'm a huge Poe fan, so I actually stole one and gave it to a friend. We had doubles on the artifact because it was involved in some stunts.
Great. Well, the last episode that aired just this past week, tons and tons of artifacts you got to see.
Oh, yeah.
It was it. My favorite artifact this past week, snow globe.
Was the snow globe?
Yeah. Now it's cold. I can drink it.
That thing. All because of that payoff with the snow globe at the end, I had to wear that tool belt and run around in it the entire episode, which is way more uncomfortable than one might think.
Oh, wow. If you can tell us, is there a future for Claudia in season 2?
There's definitely a future for Claudia in season 2.
See, we heard rumors.
I can tell you honestly that I don't know what is going to happen, because the finale ends with such a cliffhanger that everything is at stake. But I like to tell myself that there's a serious chance for Claudia to come out the heroine in the beginning of season 2. But we have no idea. I'm just beginning my campaign for sexy time in the warehouse.
Nice. You know, I think there would certainly, if they wouldn't bring your character back, there would certainly be something lost in the show, because you certainly do provide a balancing aspect. So,
thank you.
I don't know. There's been rumors floating around fandom that someone's going to be killed off, but yeah, we don't know though.
I don't even know.
Okay.
I don't even know, and I'm on the inside. So there you have it.
There you have it. So, dispel any rumors. No one knows for sure yet. All right. Any other projects that we can look forward to seeing you in, other than? Well,
you guys know about Smallville, and at the moment, that's all. I'm going back onto G4's Attack of the Show next week. I'm not quite sure when that segment will air. I'm waiting to hear on a couple things, but other than that, just if you know any major producers, if you know Zack Snyder, whisper into their ear. Allison Scagliotti needs a job.
Nice. So how busy does Warehouse 13 keep you though?
We're picked up for 13 episodes, season 2, which should take us from February-ish to, I guess, mid-July, I suppose. Okay. So it's a nice chunk of time, but it also gives time for other things. Like at the moment, I'm enrolled in school, okay. So I'm taking a bunch of units and getting that knocked out of the way. Fall is the time for productivity.
How can so as we wrap up the interview part, how can people find out more about you and the work you're doing? Any place you would direct them to?
At the moment, the best place to find me is twitter.com/Allison Scag. I will, I'm working on, once I have time, creating an official site, and of course I'll post it there if and when that goes up. But at the moment, that's really the best resource for Allison Scaglioni news. I feel so pretentious saying that. That's so not me. Oh my God.
Wow. Okay, well, great. Well, thank you so much for being on the Sci-Fi Diner podcast here with us, Allison.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.